Hello everyone, welcome to episode 16 of the Worst Outtakes. My name is Michael and I play Nylan Lyra, the Lunar Sorcerer. Hello. And in today's episode, we'll be giving a recap on the next part of Sierg, which is our, the campaign we had before the podcast. It's one of our longest going ones, if not our longest going one, and it's still going even today. And I'm really happy to tell you all about this because this has been one of my favourite campaigns I've ever been in. But before that, I do have to fulfill my duty of giving you a recap of what happened last time in the podcast. On the last episode of The Worst Outcome, our group continues our quest up to Nutrican in search of a cleric to heal ourselves. We are currently falling apart at the moment. Nylan has necrosis, Memo has a broken leg, and Oam has broken ribs. Along the way, our guide wanted to stop into a small village to get some supplies. He didn't want to be here, so he wasn't going to be long. Inside this strange village was a obelisk, so tall it was, cutting a line in the clouds. After a quick restock, our guide wanted to get out of that place as soon as possible, and we didn't stop him. We hopped on, and he took us to the next area. On the way, we were ambushed by a familiar foe, and we managed to succeed, just barely. We ended up stopping into a town and taking a job to help catch a thief. After we catch that thief, the plan is to take a rest to regain our strength and then continue the journey in the morning. But yes, that's what happened last time. Now, on to what's happening this time, the recap of Sierg. Here's a quick reminder of all the characters in the party. We have Raudoak, the Dampier fighter, who's played by Jay, or Memor, the centaur paladin. I hope I did that justice. There's Stream, the Water Genasi cleric. That's my character. Hello. We have Creo, the tiefling warlock / paladin, who is played by Finn / Oam. And there's Hiswin, the gnome artificer, who's played by Reese or Mud, whichever you prefer. We also had Darkness, the Kenku rogue, but he wasn't really here for this one. So for this time on Sierg, we continue from where we left off, with our party escaping from the Black Bastion in the Trundler. We had escaped with the help of Hiswin, the botanist, and the courier, the last 3 surviving members of the Trundler. It would be quite a few days, maybe even months, until the Trundler reached its actual destination, so we took the time to get to know Hiswin a bit and, truly become allies, join forces, if you will. He's a artificer, as you know, and he belonged to the kingdom of Spire, which will come up again later, so we'll get to that later. The Trundler ends up having to stop in a fairly sized village just on the border of Ghoulmoor. It's a relative distance away, so we thought we were safe to stop and get some supplies, because, with people in there, we got to eat, we got to drink, and all that kind of stuff. Seeing this as an ample time to, stretch our legs and, see some new sights, we decide to split up a tiny bit and, take a look around and simply just relax, decompress after the whole running away from a tyrant. Hisman decided to head to the village market to try and sell some of his inventions he made on the way to the town. This was normally what he did in the Trundler. On the way to a place, he'd make some gadgets as an artificer and then sell them when he got there, because merchants. Stream went to the church that was aligned with his god Sierg. Sierg is the god of many faces, and you can worship each individual emotion, or you can worship all of them in one big collective. Stream specifically worships the god of smiles, like happiness and all that kind of stuff. Raudoak, now that it was empty, decided to explore the many floors of the Trundler. He was curious about it the entire journey and was stopped at every turn by the botanist. The botanist wasn't the biggest fan of our group, really. While selling his stuff in the town, Hiswin notices a few of the townsfolk. They're acting fairly strange. Sort of normal at a glance, but if you looked harder, there was definitely something wrong. He decides to take a quick look around the town, see if he can find anything that's inherently wrong, but doesn't appear to find anything. So he decides to just, forget about it for a bit and goes back to selling his stuff. Because money. As I mentioned before, Stream headed to the church in town to go pray to Sierg. He even lit a bit of incense as an offering to get some favour. On his way back to the Trundler, he saw a massive, absolutely massive, terrifying creature in the middle of town, and he'd seen nothing like it before. It was terrifying to him. He thought it was another thing that Kuadral had sent after them, and so he thought people were in danger. However, it looked like no one in town acknowledged it was there. They were just walking past it, bumping into it, but not even realizing. He went to go find Hiswin, and he told him about it, pointed out, and basically said, look, there's a giant thing there. To which Hiswin couldn't see anything and called him crazy. Said, what are you on about? Cutting over to Raudoak, who was exploring the Trundler, he saw a bunch of the little shops and even the room for the head of the merchants, which, was now all empty because of what happened at the Black Bastion. But they did find a sort of like engine room with a furnace. Inside this furnace was the power source of the Trundler to keep it moving. Inside was a trapped little fire elemental who was sort of... Of course he was very happy about his predicament. He was trapped. And he asked Raudoak, please let me out. Raudoak asks this creature, how do I know that we can trust you? He rolls a insight check, gets close to a nat 1, and the creature says, oh, don't worry, you can trust me, I'm really trustworthy. To which he lets it out. And it immediately sets fire to the Trundler entirely, causing it to burn down. Raudoak runs out of the wreckage, forgetting Swank in the panic, and Swank burns to death as the Trundler falls down around them, to which this little fire elemental leaps off into the distance and far, far away to hopefully not get caught by any surviving members of the Trundler. Stream and Hiswin, still in the middle of discussing if this thing is real or not, see the fire and rush over to try and put it out, not wanting a repeat of what happened in a previous town. They ultimately do put out the fire to save the houses nearby, but aren't able to save the Trundler, not even a little bit. It's now just a wreck of planks and boards fallen down around in the town. Hiswin is livid, absolutely fuming at this, and he starts arguing with Raudoak, calling him all sorts of names, telling him how stupid he was to even be touching stuff like that. The botanist even joins in and starts berating Raudoak too. In the middle of all of this, Stream somehow gets their attention and points out that the monster is starting to move underground. Barely catching a glimpse of it this time, Hiswin actually sees the creature, realizing that it is real and this is a problem. If this is some sort of invisible creature that no one can notice, they need to get rid of it to protect the people, and this shared goal makes everyone forget about the Trundler for now. Hiswin quickly raced into the centre of town to try and gather as many of the townspeople as he can to help fight this creature. He managed to convince them that it has been invisible and living under their noses for as long as they can remember. Enraged, they go and grab their weapons, their pitchforks, their torches, whatever they can arm themselves with, and rally with him to enter the sewers and kill this creature. They all head down and follow its trail in the sewers. They follow it to underneath the church where it's gone to hide, to reveal that it is in fact a false Hydra. The battle was going to be no means easy, but they had to fight, and fight they did. It burst through the floor, going straight into the church in an attempt to flee. They all followed it, using the passage that it created. It started casting spells, charm spells, to get people to turn on each other. Raudoak failed his saving throw and started attacking Stream and a few others. Eventually, the beast is brought low, not without killing a quarter of the civilians and heavily injuring the party itself. After defeating the false Hydra, the group talks to the heads of the churches to ask to cure all the injured civilians and to apologize for the destruction this creature has caused. It is then they reveal to us that they knew of it and frankly just didn't care to remove it. Stream is approached by a fellow worshipper and given 2 magical stones. He doesn't know what they do, but he said to hold on to them. After the battle, everyone decides to head back to the Trundler, or what remains of it, as a sort of meet-up point to tell the botanist what's happened. However, what we find is a large group of armed soldiers with strange dragon markings surrounding the wreck, some of them taking Swank's corpse. Confused, we approach and ask what the hell's going on and who are these people, where the soldiers make way for a rather cleric-type person. He comes in and thanks us for our good work and gives us all each one red coin, which is the size of a gold piece, with a dragon insignia on it. These are crimson red, very metallic, very pretty coins. He tells us that they are extremely magical and that they could basically do whatever we ask for, like a wish without any... Well, he explains it like a wish without any downsides. However, it's much more limited in its scope, and it very much has downsides. Essentially seeing it as a free wish, Hiswin immediately decides to use his right away. He talks to the group and basically suggests that he uses his to teleport us all to his homeland, which is the city of Spire, or the Isles of Spire, to be more specific. We all agree, and he holds up the coin aloft and makes his request. The coin glows and disappears, not before knocking us all out. When we awake, we all wake up in one of many of the city squares of Spire. Spire is an absolute beautiful kingdom, surrounded by a lush ocean with very exotic plants and animals. It has a few flying islands here and there, one of which is just a straight-up library, which is really cool. And not to mention, good for us, it's very far from Ghoulmoor. Not to mention they'd have to cross an ocean to get here. But that does appear to be the end of this retelling. Thank you all very much for listening. If you have anything to say, you could feel free to message us on Instagram at @TWODNDpodcast, or you can leave a message through the YouTube comments section. We'll try and get to those if we can. All of our social media exists under the same username. You can find us on Twitter/X, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram. You can also find us on Spotify, Audible, YouTube. You can find us on most streaming platforms, and if you could leave us a like or a review or whatever kind of thing that the platform has, that'd be very much appreciated. It really helps us out, it gets us spread around and all that, and it helps us do more of this for you. Once again, thank you all very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your evenings. I've been Michael. See you next time.